Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to Tapping 3.0. So, if you have the tapping bundle, that means that you have Tapping 1.0 and Tapping 2.0. Please go back and watch those first. It's just going to give you a foundation. It's going to give you a lot more in depth of how this works, why it works, how I use it, all those things. And this training is meant to just give you a little bit of supercharge around just making this work even more for you. As I've been doing this in my business, the first training was done like, gosh, 2 years ago. I don't even know. It might have been longer. It was when I was living in Mexico. And so I've obviously evolved the way I tap and the way I teach it over that time. So please go back and watch the first two trainings, take notes. And then once you have this training, you can really play around with this and see what works for you and see just what's going to be the best way for you to tap. My whole business strategy is really about teaching you guys to do what's best for you. I don't like to teach things that create dependency on me. I want you guys to feel empowered. And as I've said in the first two trainings, this is really it's a powerful training. You can use it to manifest. You can use it to process your emotions. You can use it for anything. You can use it to just feel good in your body, and you can use it to feel good about the things that you desire, which is manifestation. And but it's also a lesson in learning how to trust yourself and that you know what's best for you and you know what's going to serve you better than me or any other coach or mentor could. So that's the biggest takeaway here, is that you deserve to live a life where you feel good, that you process your emotions, you come back to your center easy, and that you trust yourself, that you know what's right for you. That's the biggest gift I could ever give anyone. So we're going to dive in. I'm just going to go really quick over the tapping spots because they've kind of evolved, they've kind of changed, right? So the OG tapping spots are going to be in the first two trainings, and here's the ones that I use now. If you would rather use the one in the first training or the second training, do that. There's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no right amount of pressure. There's no right amount of times to tap on each spot. Like, it just is really what feels right for you. And you'll see that when I demo it about what feels right for me. And maybe I stay on one spot longer, I do one spot harder. So anyways, let's dive in. So the spots I kind of use now are the top of my head, my third eye, the outside of my eye, the underneath, like this area that's like a bone right underneath your eye, right here, right here. And then I used to do the collarbone. The collarbone is a very common one. Sorry, my hair is just all over the place today. Bear with me. I used to use the collarbone, but I've actually really moved to this. We call it the sore spot. So it's kind of like two fingers below, and it's right here, and you can like touch it, and it's a little bit like that spot. And then the new thing that I started doing is tapping on where I feel the sensation. Not okay. 8 times out of 10, most people are going to feel it in their chest or in their stomach, in their solar plexus right here, right? So, really tapping out on that spot, that's going to help process it, but it's also going to communicate with your brain that you really are listening to what it's trying to tell you. You really are processing any fears or doubts or emotions or whatever is causing it. And your brain is just going to be like, okay, like you're really hearing me. So the other thing I want to say is that I tap on, my spots, and then I tap on where it is. But a lot of times when we start tapping on the location in our body, it will move. For me, it moves a lot. Like, mine usually start in the chest, in the stomach, and then kind of go up to the chest. So just follow it, right? Just follow it. It can go all the way up. It can start here and end up back in the face. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Trust that you're doing it right. Okay. So if you've watched the first two trainings, you have a little bit of an idea of what to tap on. So things to tap on are really like anytime you're feeling triggered, anytime you're feeling overwhelmed, anytime you're feeling anxious, we want to tap on that. I have my own alignment process that I take people through, and that's how I use that process to get people into brain body alignment with the money they desire and help them manifest it. And it is a list that you go through and you tap on these specific things. So if you want that training, reach out to me on Instagram, because I have a specific alignment process and I use it for manifestation. I might end up doing like a manifestation bundle where I teach the alignment process and then how to tap on those things. So I guess I'm saying that to say that this bundle is just about tapping. It's not about manifestation. If you want to learn about manifestation and how to use tapping for manifestation, you're going to want a training for that, right? This is just for you to really learn tapping because it's literally one of the most powerful tools that I have in my toolbox. And every client I work with says the same thing, that it's also one of their most powerful tools that they use on themselves and their clients. And traditional EFT, emotional freedom technique, which is tapping as well, is really difficult to do on your own because it's really, I don't know the word, but it's entailed. There's a lot going on. And this is a very streamlined process. And that's why I've developed it this way, is to be really streamlined, to be really easy. So we can literally do it in a few minutes a day because I'm all about ease. I don't like things being harder than they need to. I know that people won't do them if they're hard. The other thing I want to say, well, there's two more things. The other thing I want to say is that if you notice resistance to sitting down and tapping, or you're doing your manifestation work or whatever it is, ask yourself why. Literally get curious about that. And a good way to do that is, okay, if I got everything I wanted, if I got everything I want to manifest, what do I fear would happen? Because if you have resistance to sitting down and doing this for like 60 to like 120 seconds a day, like at the beginning it may take like, you know, a few minutes of doing it, but once you get the hang of it, literally you can do this in 60 seconds. If you can't sit down and do this for 60 seconds, please ask yourself why. That will probably get you further than anything else, of just being clear on, what am I fearing here? Why am I not doing the things I know I should be doing to get what I want? Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to say. The other thing was, in the first training, I really did it from, instead of an inner monologue, I really did it. I'm feeling woozy. I'm feeling anxious. This is where I feel it in my body. That works best for me. Okay. So that's the way I'm going to do it in this video. In the second training, in Tapping 2.0, I teach you how to do it with your inner monologue. And that's EFTs, like EFT, emotional freedom technique. That's kind of the way that they teach it. It doesn't really resonate as much for me. It works for me, but I just like, because I'm such a sensational human. Like, I mean, like, I'm not like sensational. I mean, like, I experience very heightened sensations in my body and in my nervous system. So for me, just being aware of the sensations and tapping on those is so much more powerful for me. And sometimes I will feel like I need to speak with my inner monologue, okay, if I'm feeling anxious, what am I feeling anxious? What are the thoughts going through my head? That's all in Tapping 2.0. So again, if you didn't watch that, go back and watch it. So for this training, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be kind of doing it more the style of the first one, of like just tapping and how I'm feeling and the sensations and where I'm feeling them in my body, versus Tapping 2.0, where it's all about learning how to tap with your inner monologue and the words that are going to work for you. It's also very, very, very powerful. So between all three of these, you are going to get you're going to become a tapping ninja. You're going to get very clear on how to tap in the way that's perfect for you. And it's going to skyrocket your manifestations. Like, this is the number one thing I do with my clients for manifestation. I use my alignment process and I use tapping. Of course, I use other things in my one-to-one work, but this is like, if I could just give anybody the one thing, it would be the alignment process plus the tapping. So if you don't have my alignment process, again, just DM me on Instagram at Farron Zanakis, my name, and ask me about that. Okay, so let's dive in. So in the alignment process, so I'm going to just use one in the alignment process, and I'm going to use the one that I feel like really trips people up the most. So the things that I see trip people up the most is the money they desire, not feeling natural and normal in their body. The money they desire, it feels like they are either not worthy of it or deserving of it, or it doesn't feel safe. Those are the four. Okay. And I'm going to actually work with safety because I personally have a lot around safety. And just another like caveat here, just because you clear one thing, you're like, okay, maybe it's like, oh, well, I know I have an issue with feeling worthy of the money I want with ease, and I've worked on that. Never just assume that you've worked on it and it's gone. Yes, we can move it out of our bodies. But what I see with my clients is, if you guys go on my Instagram and you see my clients, they do really high cash months. They do 20, 30, 40K cash months with ease. And this is what they're all going to tell you, is that each level, at that new income level, these old things that they thought they got rid of come back at each new level, and a little bit different. They're not exactly the same. And obviously, because they've been doing this work, it's a lot easier to catch it, process it, come back to center, manifest from neutral. But I just want you to just be really open-minded and not tell yourself, oh, I know that I processed this, or I know what the story is, or I know, or I don't know. And the truth is we don't know. Like, you just have to really be honest with yourself and say, okay, like, let's check in. How worthy of this do I feel? How deserving of this do I feel? And those are just a few of the questions I ask, but those are like the ones that seem to be the most. And because mine is safety, and I've worked on safety so much, but as my business gets bigger, as my business expands, safety comes up for me again, right? Like safety at, 50K months is very different than how, like, what safety issues come up at 10K months. Yeah, the story is the same, but how you experience it is a little bit different, right? So let's dive in. I'm going to use safe. Okay. So, I have been, and I'm just going to be completely honest. I love transparency. I'm never trying to put myself on a pedestal and like say that, that you guys should, like I'm your guru. That's not what I'm saying. So I always try to be very transparent about stuff that's happening in my business. My business, like it's wild. I literally will take so much time off of work. I won't post on social media for months. I actually had several 5-figure cash months while taking like 10 months off from social media. That actually happened. And it was really because of this work. It was because of me checking in with what I wanted. Let me also be very clear. This is some next level stuff, but I'm kind of on my soapbox. Manifestation is not about feeling good every day, all day long. That's what traditional manifestation would have you believe. But we are human. We are here to have a human experience. And that means processing our emotions instead of bypassing them. And so some days we're going to have bad days and we're not going to feel great. And what kind of human would I be, human to human, to be like, oh, well, if you feel bad, you're going to manifest bad things? No, that is not true. I manifest amazing crap all the time. And so do my clients. It's about feeling good about what you want. So let's say I'm in a really bad mood or I'm sick or whatever, and I'm just having a rough day. I may be having a human experience. I may be feeling shitty, but when I tap into, okay, I want a 50K month, does that feel good? Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. And not that I'm doing 50K months, just for like full transparency. But my point is that I have this thing with safety because my business, anytime I come back to my business and I start selling, people buy and my spots fill up. Like I have one coaching spot left right now, and then I'm on a waiting list. Maybe two. I might have a second one just only because I just closed down an offer. And so I may have two spots, but let's just say one for right now. And so I know every time I come back and I start filling my spots and then I start gearing up, like I'm actually making the move towards more passive income, meaning I'm going to be doing more, what am I trying to say here? Courses and trainings like this. And that doesn't mean I won't still be doing one-to-ones. And I think I might do like a very high level mentorship, like a rolling mastermind kind of thing. Those things are to come. But when I sit down and I start writing all this out and I start planning it and I'm like, okay, when I do the numbers, I'm like, yeah, 20, 30, 40K, it's coming for me, right? Like, and sometimes I do like those, but they're not consistent, right? And so for me, I know that mine have a lot to do with safety. And even just saying that, I can feel it bubbling in my stomach, right? So what you want to do is you want to say, okay, like say your goal, right? Like write it down, say it out loud so your body knows. And it's like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how safe do I feel to experience this amount of money? Okay. So mine was a 7, right? And that's not bad. And I'm going to actually I'm just going to say it in my head because like sometimes you just need to say different. Like maybe you're just like, well, I want 20K months, but you're like, but I would be cool with like 30K months. Like play around with the number, right? So I'm just like 20K consistent months, 30K consistent months. Yeah. Okay. So the reason that we want to do it on a scale from 1 to 10 is that we want to make sure that what we're doing is working. And also it just lets our brain know that we're like tracking it. It's just us communicating like with our brain and body and kind of doing this like holistically. So always ask yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, like how much do I feel this? The intention is to get it to a 10. Now, in the first training, I taught it a little bit different and it's a little bit confusing, but basically like I started with the negative feeling, right? So maybe I'll do that in this one because I don't want it to be confusing. Okay, so let me ask it this way. So I do ask myself, okay, how safe do I feel? So now it's like, okay, well, how unsafe do I feel? Right? Because in the first training, I was working with a negative emotion. And so that means that we want to get it to 0. And so that's why I'm switching it in this one to make sure that we stay in the same scale because that can be a little bit confusing. So how much do I feel unsafe? And ironically, this is what's really weird. Our brain and bodies are so interesting. Doing this work, I have seen so many interesting things. So, how unsafe do I feel is also a 7. How can I feel safe is a 7. and feel unsafe as a 7. I don't know. These things happen sometimes. It's not our job to like question it. We just go with it. The intention is that we want to the negative thing to be a 0 and the positive thing to be a 10, right? So the negative would be like, okay, how unsafe do I feel? I want that to be a 0. And then how safe do I feel? I want that to be a 10. Okay. That's the intention here. And I feel it in my solar plexus, which I knew I would because that's usually where my things start for me. And so I'm just going to start tapping and I'm just going to say, I am just feeling this it's like overactivation in my body. It feels tingly, it feels woozy, it feels uncomfortable, and I don't like it. It makes me feel like I'm not safe. And even though I feel unsafe, and even though I just don't like the way this feels in my body, I know it's just trying to protect me, and I know it's trying to communicate with me. But I'm so ready to see it differently. I'm so ready to experience it differently. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Peace. Oh. Again, we are looking for the physiological response. I'm yawning. That is good. That means it's moving. And then I grab my wrist. I say peace. That is still my anchor. So as you do this more, you can actually just default to your wrist and then install the good, right? So this is really just easy. I'm just going back to the first training, just working with how I'm feeling in my body and the sensations I'm experiencing, talking to myself about, I know it's just trying to protect me. I know why it's here. And even though I know why it's here, and even though I know it's trying to help, I hear it and I'm ready to let it go. I'm ready to see it and experience it differently. And then it goes because my brain is like, my brain and my body are both like, okay, so you're hearing us. You're hearing us that we don't feel safe to experience this. Does it really matter why? For this purpose of this training, no. When I get into like the deep work with my one-to-one clients, sometimes it does, right? I just want full transparency there. But for this work, it doesn't matter. Like just feel better in your body about what you want. And I promise you, your life and your business and the money that you desire will shift. I promise you. Okay. But you have to do it. This work works, but you have to work it, right? You have to do it. You have to do it. And then it will, I promise you, it will work. Okay. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how unsafe do I feel? Mine's at a 2. It went from a 7 to a 2. Okay. So I'm going to do it again. I'm just feeling unsafe in my body. I feel it in my stomach, my solar plexus. It feels flighty and hyper, and I hate that feeling. And even though I hate that feeling, even though I feel like I have resistance, I know it's just here to communicate. It's trying to tell me that it's scared. And even though I feel this way, even though I'm experiencing these uncomfortable sensations, I'm so ready to let it go. I'm so ready to experience safety differently. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Oh, peace. Oh, and you can see that I start to yawn before I even tap on that spot. You may not do that. You may have to tap on that spot before you start yawning. And this is just how my body works, right? But I've noticed that when I tap on the spot of where I'm feeling it, it just supercharges it. I can feel like a jolt in my body. Okay. And then the installation is the same that I've been teaching it in the other 2 trainings, but just for the sake of like this being a complete training, it's right here, right? And this is what I love about this version of tapping versus like EFT, because EFT teaches the getting rid of the negative and installing the positive as all the same thing. And I think that's really confusing. And then people don't know what to say when. And that's why I teach it this way. Okay. So in between your ring finger and your pinky, there is a hollow spot here. And we're just going to tap on that. Again, it takes around, if for me, it doesn't take that long unless it's really deep shit, because I do this a lot. But it can take you if you're new or if it's something that's really sticky. Like that took me 2 times to zero it. Okay. It might take you 5 at the beginning. And again, if it's not, working, like I said in the first training, like get up, drink some water, move locations. The other thing is that you might not be saying the words that work for you. So in the second training, I go into your inner monologue. Okay, when I believe I'm unsafe, what are the thoughts in my head? And then I tap with that, right? That might be the best for you. So if this isn't working for you, then try that. If this works for you, great. Okay. So this is me, and I'm not going to say the sensations. I'm going to actually say what I want to feel and how I'm going to believe that, which is a little bit different than, what I just said. Like for the negative, we're just like, I'm talking about the sensations, how it feels in my body. And this, I'm just going to say how I feel. Basically, I'm saying, what do I want to experience instead of feeling unsafe with money? Okay. Here we go. And we're again looking for the physiological response, a yawn, a sneeze. I literally have clients that sneeze. I have like clients that cry. I have clients that like yawn and have big stretches. Like as long as you have any sort of physiological response, it's perfect. And you'll feel it. And with this too, we're looking for a physiological response, but also it'll feel like it's kind of clicking in. I know that sounds weird, but you'll get what I mean. You'll be like, oh yeah, that clicked in. Okay. So my intention is I want to feel safe with money. I want to feel safe having large amounts of money and consistently. Okay. So that's what I'm tapping in. Ready? Here we go. It is safe for me to have high cash months consistently. It's safe for me to have a lot of money. It's safe for me to have high cash months consistently. I am safe to do big things in my business. I am safe to be seen by more people. I am safe to receive more money and hold more money. Money is good, and I'm a good person, and I deserve good things. And the more money I have, the more good I can do. It is safe for me to have more money. It is safe for me to have high cash funds on repeat. Oh, see what I mean? So let me just explain what happened, because that is what happened in my inner monologue. I do this work a lot, so on some level I knew that safety was tied to me being seen, to being seen to more people. So I didn't know consciously that going in, but because I do this work all the time, that's just what came to my brain. So you say whatever you need to say to get that to install. And again, go back and watch the first two trainings, so it's going to go more in depth with the verbiage behind it. I hope this makes sense, that really the biggest difference is just there's a few different tapping spots. And actually, I don't even know if I tapped on my third eye this time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I don't think I tapped here either. But the point is that it doesn't matter. I literally switch up these points all the time. And I do the ones that feel right for me. Do the ones that feel right for you. Say the things that feel right for you. Like there's no right or wrong way to do it. And that's the biggest thing, is that you are doing it right just by doing it, right? So I hope this was helpful. Again, I know I've said this a million times, but please go back and watch the first two trainings. It's going to give you a more in-depth and holistic view on how to use this. And I hope this was helpful. But basically, again, the main thing was just learning how to actually tap on that sensation, and then finding out which one of these ones work for you, like tapping 1.0, tapping 2.0, tapping 3.0, or layering them in. That might be a little bit of blend of all of them, right? I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions or need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, happy tapping.